What is the oldest thing you own right now? 2 paintings from the 17th century. It amazes me to think about how many people must have owned them, and how they lived, died, etc. I somehow feel that something that old doesn't belong to someone, but you get it to take care of it for a while. That's a beautiful thought. The Tostito pizza rolls in the back of my freezer. We've had this freezer since the late 90s. Guessing they're from 99. I'll go check. To be continued. Okay, update, they're from 01. Sorry to waste everyone's time. Dang, those are some old pizza rolls. I'm now very curious to see a 2001 pizza roll next to a 2021 pizza roll just to compare size and see if there's some shrinkflation going on. How much pizza roll are we missing out on these days? I have a pair of hairpins that appear to be enameled metal that have a note in the box written by my great grandmother. These pins were worn by me on my wedding day as a gift from my grandmother, who wore them on her own wedding day. My great grandmother's wedding day was in 1902. Her grandmother's was in 1831. That's wonderfully awesome. I hope you keep that tradition going for a very long time. I wouldn't say I owned them, but I found 3 arrowheads in the fields of the farm I grew up on. It was right on confluence of the Chester-Corsica rivers on the eastern shore of Maryland. When I was young, in the 70s, I assumed they were Indian arrowheads, and, in my naive little mind, thought they must be 300-400 years old. As an adult, I learned that they are indeed Native American, but thousands of years older than I'd thought. There is a farm up the road from that one, where loads of ancient stone tools, spear arrowheads, etc. have been found. I don't know exactly how old mine are, but I feel like they are only mine to treasure in my life, and then they must pass on to my kids, and beyond. Pretty amazing feeling finding them. Even as a dumb kid, it felt tingly, knowing possibly the last person to touch it was the human who'd made and used it, thousands of years ago. I found 2 Indian grinding stones in my yard while digging with a backhoe. Pretty dang cool, although nobody else thinks so. In my mind they are a few hundred years old too, lol. I let my daughter bring one to school for show and tell, and she brought it back painted orange and purple. Coins from the late 1800s for material things, rocks for other things. Curious to know how old. Some rocks in Canada are some of the oldest in the world. A coin from 1876, my grandfather's steamer trunk, late 1800s, my house 1946, although the stones in the house and the soil are really old. I just bought a house from 16th century, wish me luck. I have a ring that was made by my great-great-great-grandfather in 1853. I have a collection of fossils, and I believe the oldest specimen that I'm sure about is a trilobite, which is probably on the order of 270 million years old. I have a rock containing 2 fossilized trilobites. If I'm identifying them correctly, they are around 450 million years old. It's insane how long trilobites were around for in one form or another. I got a Bible that's been in the family since 1830, has birth dates written in it going back to 1796. It has an 1887 calendar as a bookmark. Pretty old for a book. I've got fossil shark teeth, but the more interesting one is a piece of Iron Age pottery from a tomb in Spain I dug up and put in my pocket on an archaeological dig. Forgot about it till I flew home. That's some pretty big pocket you got there. I have a flag that they flew over the Alamo. I don't care much about that piece of history, but my great grandparents saw to it that I received it when they both passed away. They fly a different flag every day, then sell the old one in the gift shop. Yours could have been flying over the Alamo in 1955, 1970, 1995 or 2015. 65 million year old T-Rex poop. So there's this way of telling if a rock is fossil bone or not. Like many of the methodologies invented by geologists, it involves tasting the rock. You place your tongue on it, and if it's bone, the tiny little holes where the capillaries went will draw in the moisture and make your tongue stick to it. I tell people this right before handing them my T-Rex poop. They get excited when they prove it has bone in it. Then I tell them what it is, and watch the look on their face. Thus far 47 people have licked my chunk of T-Rex poop. That's crappy. Gold earrings. Those were the last pieces of jewelry my great-grandmother brought during the partition, 1947, India, Pakistan, and still had when she died. They were passed to my grandmum and then to my mum. Will most probably go to my brother's wife when he gets married. A bracelet from a little girl from World War II, which was found in Auschwitz. Grandfather's old silver ring from World War II. He had it made in 1942, I think. It's a nice, if worn, ring. Edit. Just found it to check. I was mistaken. It was 1940, and it's a perfect fit for my left pinky finger. I don't think I would want that to look new. The worn look is what makes it special, along with, of course, being your grandfather's. A Hadrian-era silver denarius. I believe it to be authentic. The obverse is Hadrian's bust in profile and the reverse is the esteemed Fortuna, a combination not in much demand and probably not faked. The oldest thing I own that has personal meaning would be my father's aviator sunglasses that he wore as a pilot during World War II. A first edition, leather-bound copy of a book written by Thomas Jefferson and published within his lifetime, around the early 1800s before he passed away. A camera from early to mid 1900s IDK, but it looks old as frick. It's more of a decoration piece now. It doesn't work. Hasn't since before I was born apparently. Grandpa brought it with him when he moved in with us. Then he died about a year after I was born, so it's just kinda been sitting here. Just tried to Google it, but it's difficult since it doesn't have a name or anything on it. But it kinda looks like a Brownie Target 620. So the oldest thing in the house is from the mid 1900s. A Dora the Explorer perfume bottle with probably 2 or 3 more sprays left that was gifted to me when I was like 6. It was the first thing I ever felt was truly mine and so only I could touch or use, so I treasured it and I still haven't finished it to this day. Aside from some coins from the 1700s or the cheat answer of these rocks fossils are millions or billions of years old, it would be a puzzle box from somewhere in the vicinity of 1850 to 1880. It was my great-grandma's from when she was a child. Still has a 120-year-old rattlesnake rattle in it. My father was an archaeologist. I've got numerous fossils. The oldest man-made items are the Bronze Age knife and flint heads. The flint heads are wonderfully made. There's also an inscribed stone which is an early map. I'll try and have it scanned at some point. I've got a set of Roman lead weights which are also a fascinating item. Original photograph of a group of men next to a rail car from the late 1800s, I'm guessing. No idea who they are. Bought at auction with some other stuff. No clue what to do with it, because knowing you might have the last existing image of someone makes it hard to just throw away. A small watercolor painting my great-grandfather painted while imprisoned in the Andersonville POW camp during the Civil War. Union soldier imprisoned in the Confederate South. I've got a playbill from famous Dutch playwright Joos van den Vondel, published while he was still alive, somewhere around 1650 or so. Gidsprecht van Eemstel, if anyone's curious. I have a tin wash tub that was manufactured, as far as I can tell, in the 1870s. It was my grandmother's great-aunt's wash tub back on the farm before the farm got indoor plumbing, which was in 1947. So there are baby photos of generations of kids being bathed in that wash tub, in addition to various pets and laundry and whatever else needed to be washed. Naturally, this meant the family couldn't possibly sell it when grandmother died in 2019. Not that anyone would even buy it, since, you know, washing machines and bathtubs now exist. So now I have it. I have no idea what to do with it, although I have used it as a rest area for a sick pigeon we had to nurse back to health once. Some people have their grandmother's rings or their grandpa's hunting rifle, and I have my great-great-great-aunt's tin wash tub. A hip flask my great-great-grandfather found in 1916 at the site of the Battle of Festubert, World War I. He engraved the date and location on it, still in really good condition, with original lid and cork seal intact, and it's silver plated. I do use it on special occasions, and only the finest booze gets the privilege. The desk I am currently doing homework on apparently belonged to my great-grandfather as a young man, so like 100 years old. Nothing crazy but cool, it's mine now. A Spanish real coin from the 1784 El Cazador shipwreck, which basically set the Louisiana Purchase in motion by going down while loaded with the colonial budget. New Orleans has a long history of financial insolvency due to farcical errors, and it's nice to have a part of that. Some sections of the Hijaz Railway, made famous Lawrence of Arabia, were upgraded to metal ties. Occasionally, passing Bedouin would chop up wood ties for firewood. I have one of the bolts that was used to fasten the rails to the metal ties. We live on Vashon Glacier Till, so the rocks in my garden were cut, smoothed, and delivered some 15,000 years ago. I don't know if that counts. I fondly refer to our soil as 8" minus. A vintage World War II M1 Garand and bayonet used by my grandfather in Vietnam, then smuggled back to the US. He said it saved his life multiple times, so he felt obligated to take care of it. Now I take care of it. A Eurypterid butt. They were an apex predator that ruled the seas from the Ordovician to the Permian eras. 467-251 Maya. And now I have its butt. This antique plate that was my great-grandmother's. My uncle gave it to me to keep it in the family and said I can never sell it. I am terrified of it, so I have it sitting on a high shelf and hope there isn't an earthquake. Antique china from the late 1800s early 1900s depicting the Revolutionary War we don't use and keep in a sky blue bureau under my television. My great-great-grandfather's carpentry tools. I don't know how old they are, but he worked on the Empress Hotel in Canada and that was completed in 1908. My banjo. My late grandpa built it by hand and played it all the time when he was still with us. He passed it down to my uncle, but my uncle saw that I had taken up the guitar during quarantine and decided to give it to me since he never plays it. If you mean man-made, I have a wooden table that's been passed down my family for a bit. It's nearly a century old, but when I was a nerdy kid, back before I became a nerdy adult, and people asked my age, I'd sometimes say the energy that now comprises the matter of my body can be traced back to the dawn of the universe, and I am therefore as old as time itself. I have some fossilized crinoids from about 340 million years ago. However, I also have a meteorite which formed about 4.2 billion years ago. I own a violin from 1872, not a Stradivarius, nor is it in the best condition, but it plays well enough to use in a concert. I have a 45-year-old stuffy I bought for myself for my birthday as a child, and I also have a rock with a fossil in it. A teacup and saucer given to my great-great-grandparents for my great-grandfather's christening. It's from Austria and was given to them in 1904. A switchblade knife I bought in Tijuana as an impulse buy when I thought I was being followed by a shady-looking local. Could have been mezcal-induced paranoia though. I forgot I had it and got even drunker, then accidentally smuggled it across the border and onto the ship I was stationed on. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.